Deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, one of the most ardent hawks of the Kremlin, Dmitry Medvedev, voiced a new red line. This is the return of nuclear weapons to Ukraine. A spokesman for Putin's regime responded to a sensational article in the New York Times about the West discussing returning Ukraine to nuclear status to deter Russia. Such a move, it is claimed, could become the most reliable guarantee of Russia's non-aggression in the future. In response, Medvedev launched an insulting attack on outgoing US President Joseph Biden. It seems that my sad joke about Biden, who decided to leave this life gracefully, taking with him a significant part of humanity, is turning into a frightening reality, wrote a worried Medvedev. He claims that the threat of transferring nuclear weapons to Ukraine will be perceived in the Russian Federation as preparation for a nuclear conflict with Russia and its transfer as a fait accompli of an attack. The consequences are obvious, the official wrote, hinting at a nuclear strike. The Kremlin regularly draws its red lines for Ukraine and the West, threatening dire consequences that it does not implement. Such red lines previously included NATO's advance to the east, military aid to Ukraine, strikes on Russian territory, the entry of Ukrainian troops into Russia, etc. Even Russian Z channels mock the fact that the Kremlin does not carry out its threats, accusing their government of weakness. Earlier, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that discussion in the West about arming Ukraine with nuclear weapons is absolutely irresponsible. The New York Times reported last week that some unidentified Western officials had suggested US President Joe Biden could give Ukraine nuclear weapons before he leaves office. Several officials even suggested that Mr. Biden could return nuclear weapons to Ukraine that were taken from it after the fall of the Soviet Union. That would be an instant and enormous deterrent, but such a step would be complicated and have serious implications, the newspaper wrote. Asked about the report, Peskov told reporters, "These are absolutely irresponsible arguments of people who have a poor understanding of reality and who do not feel a shred of a responsibility when making such statements. We also note that all of these statements are anonymous. Ukraine inherited nuclear weapons from the Soviet Union after its 1991 collapse, but gave them up under a 1994 agreement, the Budapest Memorandum, in return for security assurances from Russia, the United States, and Britain."
Former German Chancellor Angela Merkel presented her memoirs, titled Freedom, at an event at the Deutsches Theater in Berlin late Tuesday. During her 16 years as German leader, Merkel tackled major international challenges including the global financial crisis, Europe's debt issues, the 2015-16 migrant crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic. Merkel served alongside 4 US presidents, 4 French presidents and 5 British prime ministers. But it is perhaps her dealings with Russian President Putin that have drawn the most scrutiny since she left office in late 2021. "I believe that he has completely overestimated his powers," she said when asked about the Russian leader at the book event. Going on to address the war in Ukraine, Merkel also said, "I believe that in view of the fact that Donald Trump will take office in January, it is even more important that the Europeans who support Ukraine have an idea of what is feasible for them, what is acceptable for them and what is not acceptable for them." Merkel was the first German chancellor to leave power at a time of her choosing. She announced in 2018 that she wouldn't seek a 5th term, and says she let go at the right point. She points to 3 2019 incidents in which her body shook during public engagements as proof. Merkel says she had herself checked thoroughly and there were no neurological or other findings. An osteopath told her that her body was letting off the tension it had accumulated over years, she adds.
Dann steht man vor sich selbst ein bisschen Parade und sagt, okay. Auf jeden Fall glaube ich, dass er seine Kräfte vollkommen überschätzt hat und gleichzeitig schreibe ich, da sind wir ja angefangen, man soll ihn auch nicht unterschätzen, weil er eben doch eine wilde und brutale Entschlossenheit an den Tag legt.
Im Moment sieht es aber ja so aus, als verlöre die Ukraine den Krieg.
Das denke ich nicht und das hoffe ich nicht.
dass die Ukraine...
Also das sehe ich nicht. Ich schreibe ja auch sehr bewusst, Russland darf diesen Krieg nicht gewinnen. Dann ist das nicht mein Land, wurde häufig falsch zitiert. Ein Wort, das war und ist eines, das den einzelnen Menschen sieht. Auch einerseits ging es um billiges Gas, das war gut für die deutsche Wirtschaft. Andererseits wollte ich auch nicht alle wirtschaftlichen Beziehungen zu Russland kappen. Das war die Situation. Und auch im Rückblick kann ich nicht finden, dass das dazu geführt hat, dass Putin, wenn es Nord Stream 2 nicht gegeben hätte, er vielleicht die Ukraine nicht angegriffen hat. Hatten wir uns ja eigentlich ausgemacht, dass wir hier die 90 Minuten Sie fragen, hier in einer sehr schwierigen Form geschrieben, bewusst hinter mir gelassen.
Donald Trump, eine Frage will ich dazu stellen, ist zurück im Weißen Haus setzt.
Ich schreibe ja im Buch, dass ich finde, dass parallel zu der Unterstützung der Ukraine alle Beteiligten, und das ist nicht nur die Ukraine, sondern auch die, die ihr helfen und sie unterstützen, darüber nachdenken müssen, wie können diplomatische Lösungen aussehen. Und ich glaube, angesichts der Tatsache, dass Donald Trump im Januar ins Präsidentenamt kommt, ist es noch wichtiger, dass die Europäer untereinander, die die Ukraine unterstützen, eine Vorstellung haben, was für sie machbar und was für sie akzeptabel und was für sie nicht akzeptabel ist. Das wäre erstmal sehr, sehr wichtig aus meiner Sicht.